ready to go. Okay, so we're just here with all of us.
Hi, guys.
Hi guys. We're back. This is our guest, Isabel Ulip.
Yes.
Isabel works with me in my office. Our first topic for our podcast. We're finally here.
Yeah, what is the topic,
Yay.
Lauren? What is the topic?
Our first topic is kids are kids, not adults.
Which is huge.
Yes, which is huge. Isabel is no longer in school. You went to college, didn't you?
I went. I didn't stay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Girl!
Devastated my family, but it's worked out.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's good. That's good.
So, Isabel, you have worked for us at the office for less than a year. I'm not going to ask you how it's going. But we love Isabel at the office, and thank God she's here because she keeps my business partner sane.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not a miracle worker, but I do the best I can.
Yes, and her best is very good. Let me tell you, huge difference. Love you,
Right.
Sean.
That's too funny. Well, you know what, Isabel, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Okay. Sure. So, I'm not really sure where to start. I moved around a lot when I was younger. Both of my parents work for NATO.
Okay.
So I was born in Hawaii. When I was about 10, we moved to Belgium, and then my dad retired at that point. So part of his retirement was he had to move back to the States for 2 years. I started getting, I guess, into some trouble with them around that time. So by the time they were ready to move back to Belgium, I was going into college.
Okay.
And I was kind of like, screw you guys, I'm staying here. They moved back, but my entire life, I think, or my family was kind of isolated. We didn't have a lot of family in Hawaii. We didn't have any family in Belgium. My mom's Norwegian. Her family's out in Wisconsin. My dad's family's out here. So now this is like the closest I've been to family.
Oh, wow.
So, my family bonds at home were never very secure. Not only did I not have like an outside like family member I could go to, but inside my own house there was a lot of chaos.
When you were in high school, where were you?
Well, part of that I was in Belgium. And then when we moved back to the States, I said no, like I want to go to a public school. There was this Catholic school like 45 minutes from my house, and I was like, no, like I'm done with this. Like, yeah,
Oh, I'm not
I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was back in Virginia, I actually went to 2 different high schools.
Okay. And they were public schools?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we talked a little bit, and I told Isabel the point of this topic is when Nicole was in high school, we used to hear all the time that these kids, they have to learn how to be adults. And I used to tell them, no, they don't have to learn how to be adults because they're kids, and we should let them be kids. We can't expect kids to be adults. And it was a constant fight that I had with them in this belief system that they were running and putting this pressure on the kids to be adults because they were going off to college. So I said this to Isabel. Isabel said, well, I was really responsible when I was in high school.
I mean, give or take, you know.
Yeah. But we have some questions prepared for you. We want your perspective because now you're past the high school years, you're past the college years, whether you stayed or not, and you're living in the real world. You live on your own. You're extremely responsible. How old are you?
26.
26.
Just turned 26.
Yes, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I want to stay young forever.
Don't we all? So I go like this in pictures. The neck.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we wanted to ask you some questions because we wanted your perspective. And when you told me I was so responsible in high school, but I've kind of gone the other way, regressed since I got out. I was like so excited that you said that because it's a perspective I had not considered. So I was like, oh my God, you're going to be perfect for this. So I'm really interested to see how you're going to ask these questions that we have for you. Like I always say, please be honest. You and I talked about this beforehand. If we ask you something, this isn't going to be Isabel's only performance here.
Yeah,
we will be asking
for that
her
matter.
back
Yeah.
for other podcasts.
She's like, let me rethink.
Like,
Should I get a manager?
Where's the door? Yeah, right, exactly. So please be honest. If we ask you a question you don't want to answer, just tell us. We'd rather you just tell us than try to hide something. It's not good for you.
It'd be cathartic for me to, only speak the truth. So I will definitely tell you guys if it's just not something I'm ready to approach yet.
Okay. Perfect. So yep, Nicole's standing in
Uh-huh.
front of our cheat sheet.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one, do you feel pressured into acting like an adult?
In certain ways, not any kind of like outward forces, but like I said, I'm 26 now. A lot of my friends are married, they have children, or they're at least in a serious relationship. And I don't know, I can't really see any of that happening for me right now. So it feels like in that respect, just because I don't have like a lot of the stuff that I need in order to be able to be part of like a functioning relationship. And so that part's where I'm kind of like, what can and I work with a therapist, trying to figure out what I can do to get myself more into that mind space. And then other things I do, like on a more lighthearted note, is I'll eat like half a sheet of tiramisu for dinner. And call it a night. Like,
I think that's adulting.
Yeah.
I ate peanut butter for like a week straight when I first moved here.
Right. You're like, I'm so not going to the store.
Do you feel like you're getting some kind of outside pressure to be ready for a relationship, like
Well, like friends ask, I don't really speak much with my dad, and then my mom, she's trying to be encouraging. She tells me everybody grows at their own pace. But I mean, it's hard, like when you just see, everybody's having a baby, and it's like, do I want a baby? Like, not right now. I'd lose that shit, or I'd lose the baby very quickly.
You're like, you don't talk.
I came in here with something.
Yeah, I'd go into Sephora and be like, oh my God, look at this eyeshadow palette. But I mean, that's really the only way that I feel like I haven't grown as much as some of my peers. Like, yeah, I didn't go to college, but I still managed to create, a very stable career path for myself and one that I'm happy in. So, I mean, I don't want to be smug and be like, well, you're just a mom.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
tell it. Yeah.
Right.
Tell
But
it,
in
girl.
a way, like, I do kind of wish that I could have, created my own happy, healthy family.
And you still might. And your mom is so right. I mean, no truer words were ever spoken in your time,
Yeah.
when you're ready. And I have to say, I commend you, because a lot of young people would just get married and have kids and not feel like they were really ready and prepared and in the right headspace to be able to do that. I waited as well.
Do you feel like having been, lived in different parts of the world, did that affect how, your perspective on being an adult at this moment is? Did I even say
Please,
that
could
right?
you
English?
rephrase that?
I know. I'm like, I didn't get
I
it.
guess.
Huh?
Are you just, I guess, kind of referencing like the different social?
Yeah, different social aspects.
Yeah, I mean, in Europe, definitely people don't get married as young, from what I've seen. And I feel like the culture there is just so much more laid back as well. There's no real rush. I don't feel like, from what I saw from my experiences, there wasn't really that competition, the keeping up, I mean, you're happy with what you have, and I feel like America kind of breeds overconsumption.
Oh, that's such a huge
So true.
thing.
And it's from my experience again. I'm not the spokesperson for Europe.
Right.
From my
You're
experience,
not? We're
from
gonna put a
my
stamp on our
experience,
forehead,
it's
by the
not
way.
like that.
I agree. You know, for the 6 years I lived in Europe, I agree. And there's completely different ways of looking at things, such as higher education and the pressures there. And because
Yeah, my schools were amazing in Europe.
yeah,
I graduated early, and I had so many credits when I graduated that I just had half days my last year, senior
Wow.
year.
How
Yeah.
exciting.
I know.
Dang.
Well, it was good and bad.
Oh. Would you care to speak on what that means?
That's another podcast.
Yeah, right.
That'd be a different show entirely.
Exactly. Okay, how did it make you feel? Did you have teachers that would say that to you? You got to learn how to be an adult because when you go to college, and if so, you didn't experience that at all.
So, okay. I loved school. I was very good at school.
Mhm.
And the reason for that was because I didn't have any kind of validation in my home life. And so even now, I'm sure you see in the office, like everything I do has to be absolutely perfect. I cannot make a mistake because I need validation. Like that's the only way that I'll feel okay. And so the teachers saw that, they respected that, and I think some of them even, would kind of be like, it's okay to make mistakes every now and then. But I mean, yeah, I skipped a grade. One of my teachers talked to my parents about me going into another because they thought I was just so mature. And like I said, I love learning. I did everything on time. I did everything to the best of my ability. That nobody could have really foreseen what would happen. Everybody thought I'd be on a very bright path going forward.
I think you are on a bright
Yeah.
path.
Yeah, I mean, it was
But
definitely
like
a journey.
school and so even though you grew up in Europe, because I know like in Greece they do college completely differently there. It's not gone about the same way, like the whole philosophy is different. But did you feel, because you were so efficient in school and you were really good at school and you enjoyed school, did you feel like that was a natural progression to go on to college, or did you feel pressured to go into college?
Honestly, like by the end of my senior year, I had been having a lot of trouble since moving back to the States, and I just didn't give a flying F like what was gonna happen to me next. All I knew is I wanted to be out of my parents' house. So I applied to 2 schools. I got into both of them. I picked the one that sounded like more fun.
Right.
Yeah. But then college teachers don't have as much time to speak with you one-on-one. I wasn't really getting that validation. On top of that, I was creating my own schedule. If I wanted to party with my friends 24/7, we lived together. We were in a dorm together. There was just no control over anything for the first time in my life. And so I found myself able to kind of let that go.
Like loosen up and relax a little bit.
Yeah, at school, there was nobody giving me validation. But at home, there was nobody who's taking that away from me.
Wow, that's interesting.
I hope I made that clear. It makes sense in my head.
No, it
It's
totally
very
does.
clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very clear.
Which I find very profound for an individual who's, just turned 26,
Oh, I've been in
right?
therapy for years.
You're like, girl, I got this. It's
Yeah.
a wrap.
Yeah.
Which I think is like, again, an amazing thing because, like I don't know about you, Lauren, but I remember the stigma of therapy growing up was like, if you were going to therapy, there was really something incredibly wrong, and for me nowadays, that's completely, the other end of the spectrum. It's like, it's a huge thing, to
What
have
age
that.
were you when you started going to therapy?
16. My dad is Filipino, and he's old. Just to put it out there. He was 40 when I was born.
Okay.
So he's old school, immigrated to Hawaii when he was 14. And I mean, I was having a lot of issues before I went into therapy. It finally took something really big, where I was forced to start going. And I mean, the first few years, especially because my dad would like insist on being in there or like fight with therapists, like it just crazy stuff. So I got a lot worse before I could get better.
Before you got better. So the next question I want to ask you, do you feel like high school prepared you for adulthood? Like, anything you did in high school prepare you for adulthood?
Off the top of my head, I don't believe so. You know, I don't think I learned many things that would have been helpful. I mean, I don't know anything about trigonometry. I use Excel all day for all math problems.
Right.
But I've never written a check once in my life.
Really?
Yeah, I solely depend on my debit card. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I had very good study habits, but I don't think that was necessarily due to high school. That was just kind of who I was. So I guess in the grand scheme of things, no, not really.
Yeah.
Would you say that a lot of how you do things now is based on, you know, just maybe observing other people, what they've done in their life, and like, oh, okay, let me try this? I mean, because I know that was the case for me.
Yeah, I mean, not to be like all braggy, but if I can find something and then find a better way or more efficient way to do it, then I will. And that's why I know all those crazy formulas on Excel. Like, I don't know, I could probably change the world with an Excel spreadsheet.
Right. I love it.
I mean, that's where I'm going with that question is you spent all that time learning math in high school, and now you use
Excel.
what you should have learned were the formulas from Excel to be able.
I told you, before I ever got into insurance, I had never used Excel. Not once. And Lauren sees what I can do with it.
Yeah,
like, it's some crazy stuff. And it's all self-taught.
Yeah.
You know?
That's crazy.
Which I think is really huge because it's like, you know, if someone is really determined to make something happen, it can happen. You know?
Absolutely. And it makes me feel so much better because all that not paying attention that I did in high school, I'll
really
be okay.
paid off.
Right?
I'm going to be okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Mercy.
That is too funny. Now that you're in the real world, Isabel, like, do you find that things are scary being an adult?
Oh, definitely. I mean, okay, like when I first got out of the house, it was impossible to make my own like doctor's appointment or dentist appointment. And I mean, now now that I live by myself, I don't live with friends, I don't live with family, I don't live with like a boyfriend. Like, making sure everything's stocked, making sure all the bills are paid on time. I'm dealing with my car. You know, I always had boyfriends who could do car things for me. Right, and now I have to go give people money.
I know!
Fix it.
I'm dealing with the same thing. High five. Totally
I'm gonna go get a boyfriend just for that.
I know, right? Like, this guy can feed me. This guy can do my mechanics. This one can mow the lawn.
You don't need no stinking man.
Right. No. And we don't have lawns in Las Vegas, let's face it. Not real.
But I mean, yeah, all the responsibilities that like normally I was able to shoulder with people before, like I can really only count on myself.
How does that, do you like that? Are you like, I'm doing this?
I like it sometimes, but then times like where someone broke into my car and smashed my car window, I was kind of like, after this, like, I'm out. I'm gonna go on Filipino Cupid and get some rich old white man. Like,
is there such a thing?
Girl, yes.
There is such a thing.
Really?
I'll just pretend I don't speak English, no problem.
Exactly.
Work on the accent with her.
Oh, yeah, we can practice every day if you like.
Filipino.
But I mean, like,
Cupid.
things like that, you feel very unsafe. I'm supposed to live in a very nice area.
Right.
But, like, I don't know, I get catcalled, and it's like when I'm on my way to work, like the office job, not like a street job or something,
Right.
you know, and it's just, I just generally feel unsafe. I carry a mace, and then I have like a little X-Acto knife in the driver's part of my car, so if somebody tried to get it through my window, I could slice them.
Yeah, and you'd be like, exactly, with my
that
X-Acto.
fool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you got your car broken into, I felt so bad for you.
It happened at work. Is that what happened?
No, it happened
No.
at my apartment. I live like in Summerlin.
Right.
And it was in my apartment complex.
Yeah.
And they don't have cameras, which is
Right.
smart because I pay like over $100 a month in
Mhm.
CIM fees, but you can't put up a camera.
Yeah.
Right.
The hot tub's always broken.
Dude, get the hot tub fixed.
I have to like run myself a really hot bath and just be like, oh yeah, this is it. Like,
Right. With a really
I'm in the hot tub. I'm in the hot tub.
and a straw for boba
Yeah.
to make the bubbles.
Do you feel, because when you came to work and your window was smashed and everything,
I was crying. It
and
was
you
horrible.
were really, really upset, I hope you learned something from that it's okay to ask for help.
Yes, and that's always been a huge thing for me.
Mhm.
Sean honestly kind of jumped in and he
Mhm.
took the lead. Like,
We love Sean.
yeah,
We really do.
Yeah.
I do too. I mean,
Yeah.
edit out the nice parts, but like,
Yeah.
no, it was amazing. Like, I couldn't get myself together, and he was on the phone. I was, he was on the phone calling people. He got someone who could come out that day. He got them at the best price. They vacuumed the window off, or the vacuumed the glass out. Like, it was incredible. There's no way I could have done that.
Yeah.
I called my
And
insurance.
that's okay.
Called my insurance. They were like, well, yeah, you could get it fixed like maybe tomorrow. They'll just put some tape over it for now. I'm like, no. I'll get my car robbed twice, and
Yeah.
this time it's because there's like a little paper mache there. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and speaking to that, I mean, regardless of age, if anything like that was going to happen, I think that we'd all feel like that, somewhat vulnerable. Well, really
I felt
vulnerable.
violated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You work really hard to have the car that you have, and you live in the neighborhood, and then for something like that to happen, it's just really sad.
It is. But you have people now that you can lean on. You have us at work and lean on us. We lean on each other. Sean and I lean on each other. There's times when we're going through personal stuff and we lean on each other. We've been friends. We were friends first, and that's always been maintained. And now you have that support. So lean on us for emotional support, for logistical things like that. I can't tell you how many times Sean's been in our house fixing stuff and in my mom's house fixing stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I trust him implicitly, and you can too. And that's part of.
He's a really good guy.
He is,
Mhm.
and that's part of becoming an adult, is knowing when to ask for help and accepting the help.
That's a good point.
And not feeling bad about accepting the help, because now you're surrounded by people that care about you very much and want to help you, want to make sure
That
you're
was
okay.
a little disconcerting too. That like he, obviously it's upsetting, and you're kind of like, oh, that sucks. But the fact that he did go out his way, spoke with many people, even went out there and like talked to them a little bit, like, so you're gonna do this, like, he took charge. Yeah, I feel like people can call people like good guys so easily, but like he actually
really
is at his
is.
core.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and which again, we love about Sean, because more often than not, I think females, generally speaking, are subjected to being around men who want something in return, and to find somebody like him is it's very rare and refreshing. Thanks, Sean.
We love Sean. Sean will always be there by your side, and he won't leave until you say, okay, I'm good. And he did that for me at a very terrifying time in my life. And I turned to him and I said, please don't leave me. And he said, I'm not going anywhere. And he just, and that's just who he is. And so he's rare.
Yeah, very, very rare, very rare. But I know you spoke about living in different countries and seeing how things differ from here, right? And again, now where you're at right now, with social media being so prevalent in everybody's lives, would you say that plays a role in how you experience your adulthood?
Oh, so I'm not gonna have a satisfying answer for this.
Okay, it's okay.
I have an Instagram that probably has like 10 posts on it,
Okay,
and then
that's
mostly
okay.
Snapchat.
Okay.
So I mean, like I'll hear about, like I'll go through Instagram, like, oh, married, oh, engaged, oh, baby,
Right.
you know. That's what I seen. That's where I get it from. Or people will like message me and be like, "Can you believe that Adam and Annie got married?" You know. But I don't really get on social media that much, and when I do, I don't feel like it's like perfectly edited little squares for me.
I mean, would you say, what's your perception of those who are constantly fixated to their phones or on YouTube or Instagram, Facebook, whatever, like, you know, and you don't use those things?
I think they're living vicariously. You know, I like to read a lot. I watch some really trashy reality TV shows. But we all kind of need that escape. And maybe social media has taken it to something unhealthy, because rather than just a character in a book or someone in a movie,
Right.
this is someone that's like real. Like real, you know, and so it's easy to compare yourself to that. But the fact is, it is a photoshopped, perfectly edited, filtered square.
Yeah, that's such a good observation. When you're reading a book, you're escaping into a different story that could be fictional. It could not be fictional. I like a lot of biographies.
Me too.
I like a lot. I love history, so I get lost in that. But social media is that person is real, and I think that aspect of it is what makes people feel like they can just say anything they want to say to somebody on social media. It gives you that anonymity, that perception of and it's really easy to get hooked up into that, you know.
I didn't really have much experience with that. But I was also somebody who would only ever add close friends. Like, some of my friends would have 2,000 people, and I was like, bitch, you don't even know 500.
Right.
You know?
Right, exactly.
So, like, I think when you're doing that, or people who are trying to, like, build followers, like, if you're not only letting in people who are, like, good people and good friends, then, yeah, like, maybe some of these shots are going to instigate, you know, hateful comments, and I'm sure most of that stems just from jealousy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't have thick skin like that. Like,
Why? Yeah, I think that's so great that you say the things that you're saying, because I find that from my perspective, you know, most people in your age range are, again, like I said before, so very fixated on all of the social media, and they think that the things that they see on TV, like in reality TV, is real life, and it's so far from that. You know,
Scripted reality TV.
very, very, very much so. Well, you know, now that you're technically an adult, Isabel, like, if you could turn back time. If I could turn...
Okay,
no?
There'll
We're not
be
doing
no
that?
singing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you could turn back time, would you do anything different to help you to, I guess, be the adult that you want to be?
I would do just about everything differently.
Why do you say that?
I just feel like if I had been able to start getting help earlier on, if I had been able to get, you know, a stronger support system, you know, and just make better choices, like, through that, all of that help, rather than relying on myself and finding validation in places where I didn't always need to. I don't really know how to say it without getting too into detail, but
yeah, that's okay.
But I feel like if I could have gotten help earlier on, been taken seriously, you know, I would have just made better choices. And no matter what, I ended up here, but who knows what I could have been.
Right.
I could have been a CEO of a cosmetics company.
Right.
I mean, I never wanted to be, but I could have.
Right. Well, you know, I again was talking to a friend of mine, and you know, we were talking about regrets or things that we could have changed. And you're right, that would have probably changed the entire trajectory of who you could have been. I mean, like, we probably wouldn't even be sitting here at this point. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's kind of crazy to think about.
I think I'm a strong believer in this. You are where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever happened to you in the past, whether it was of your own doing or someone else's doing, your journey, I tell Nicole all the time, respect the journey. Respect your journey. There's things that I could have done differently, and I would have probably ended up in a place where I don't even want to be. So you are where you're supposed to be right now, and you have to make the best. This is my opinion. You have to make the best of who you've become and in the moment that you're in. I think there's too much projection out there. Oh, okay, now if you don't go to school for 4 years and you don't get that degree, then you're going to be living under a bridge like the troll and 3 Billy Goats Gruff. Okay, it just doesn't work that way. There's so many different opportunities out there. If you want to be a CEO of a cosmetic company, there's no reason on this earth why you can't be. If you don't, then don't. If you want to be, you're where you're supposed to be. Yeah, we got to have goals, and we got to look out into the future, because we have to have goals to get to where we want to be. But you're where you're supposed to be. I understand what you're saying about getting help earlier, if it was the right help, if it was...
I would have avoided a lot of pain and suffering.
Yeah.
You know?
But I'm so sorry.
But even though that's just so hard to wrap your head around, even that has made you the Isabel you are today. And I personally think the Isabel you are today couldn't be any better.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I honestly, as we were talking in the living room, the three of us, you're funny, you're
charismatic,
you're smart, you're
beautiful.
very charismatic.
I mean,
that's such a good word
Keep
for
going,
her.
yes.
it's my $4 word of the day. You're welcome.
That was multiple syllables and everything, but very true.
I know, and I could spell it too, by the way.
Oh,
Huge
There you
thing.
go.
now you're showing off.
Right. No,
So yeah, you're where you're supposed. I'm convinced.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, if I were just to think in terms of, how it was for us in high school or what have you, like how you were saying, the support system, right? Like, do you feel like you could have, you understood that back then to seek a support system? Do you know what I mean?
Well, we were told multiple times that I needed a support system.
Okay.
Yeah. That was just kind of water off a duck's back, I guess.
You mean with your parents?
Yeah.
Mhm.
My dad, old school, really doesn't believe in that. Like, told me that's for crazy people. My mom was just kind of emotionally distant, so... And then, of course, my friends were nothing but trouble.
Yeah.
So...
Because they're kids.
Yeah.
You guys are kids. Yeah, you don't know what to do with all that.
No, I feel like if they had taken me a little more seriously, or realized, like, we could actually lose her,
Have you heard that your frontal lobe is not developed until you're 25?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I remember the conversation we had.
Yeah. That is so important, especially for kids like you that have mental illness, kids like Nicole that have mental illness, because you have that chemical situation going on. And then you have the chemicals that not everybody has.
Yeah.
And then you have the chemical situation going on that everybody has, your frontal lobes, that's your decision making. If your support system, your parents, your teachers.
Actually, I did have a very sweet teacher. And I didn't appreciate it like I should have back then. At the time I was like, okay, yeah, thanks. But he sat me down and he talked to me and he was like, I used to struggle a lot with like depression. I lost over 100 pounds. Like, had to be hospitalized, and then he was telling me about like how great his life was and like how he never imagined his life could be so good. And I was just like,
How old were you?
I was 16.
Could you process what he was saying to you?
Yeah, and I liked him a lot, but at the same time, it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And he always was kind of like a special teacher for me, you know, not inappropriately, but like we had that good bond. And I wish I had his contact information. I would send him a little postcard just saying.
If you were on
you.
social media, you could live up just playing.
We're gonna scratch that idea. We're gonna scratch that idea.
No, yeah.
That is too funny.
But yeah, teachers can only do so much. You know, it really has to start with the family.
It does. It absolutely does. And that's but okay. So my mom was a teacher for 32 years. She taught second grade, and she used to say the worst part of teaching are the parents. And she used to say, you know, she was, like I said, she was very strict. So when those kids came into her classroom, it was, you know, you in Wanda Clark's classroom, now you better act like you got some damn sense. But when the parents aren't acting like they have any damn sense, when the administration is acting like that, when other teachers are acting like that, teachers like my mom are few and far between. Teachers like the teacher that you had are very few and far between. So teachers have a responsibility to their students, and a lot of them don't live up to it. It's not their responsibility to raise a fully functioning person. That's the responsibility of your parents, but they do have skin in the game, and a lot of them don't put the skin in the game, just like a lot of parents don't. So when you have those same individuals saying, you know, these kids have to act like adults, they have to learn how to act like adults, I take issue with that. And you should know me well enough by now that when I feel strongly about something and I take issue with it, I'm saying something.
And I like that about you. You know, I like that.
Thanks.
People need to do that. I feel like as women, we were raised to like be polite, you know, not rock the boat. Even now, sometimes if some guy's being creepy towards me, I almost feel apologetic, like, oh, I'm sorry, like, no, thank you. But you need to be more assertive, you know?
Tell them to f*** off.
Yeah, if you don't like something, say it, because otherwise it's just going to keep happening.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think some of that comes from, you know, again, a cultural thing, you know, like I think most Asians are kind of taught to be very nice and accommodating, right? Versus, you know, how you were raised with a very strong mother, you know, and so you saw that, so that was a normal thing, you know. So I don't know. It's interesting.
That's another podcast.
That is another podcast. Well, Isabel, like now looking back on everything, is like, if you could tell it's a very cliche question, right? If you could tell your high school self like something about, you know, growing up and becoming the adult that you are now, is there anything that you would tell yourself? What would you say?
I mean, as a joke, I would say stay away from them boys.
Them boys. Always.
No, but honestly, like, I was so focused on, like, instant gratification in that moment. I never really thought to lay out, like, a 5-year plan. I think that was my problem. But, like, when you're dealing with mental illness, you know, day to day is, like, honestly the best that I could have achieved. So I wish I could have gone back and been like, you're leaving your parents' house soon. Everything's going to be fine. Now let's get an actual plan. Because for so long I've been planning on getting out of their house. I hadn't thought past that.
You're like, now what?
Yeah, exactly.
Now what do I do?
Yeah. Yeah, just the forward thinking. Oh my God. Yeah, there's so many things we would have probably said to our high school selves.
Where do I start?
Yeah, likewise, stay away from them boys. Them boys are trouble. Well, can I just tell you, like, this has been such a refreshing conversation. Like, it's so nice to hear a perspective from a young adult like yourself, and that you were so, again, very candid and, you know, very willing to share your thoughts and stuff, you know, with the public here.
Yeah.
I know.
I
Here
think
we are.
that a lot
Mhm.
of what you said is going to help a lot of people, which is the whole point of this
I hope
podcast.
so. And I mean, selfishly, it was cathartic for me as well.
Mhm.
You know?
Cool.
So good.
So it's not totally out of the goodness of my heart. Okay, but before we close, I do want to say, Lauren, you were like, you came up to me at work and you said, so I'm making this podcast. It's called Are We F***ing Our Kids Up? And then you went, you'd be perfect for it.
Really?
Yes. It was not the compliment you intended.
Oh my God, that's so mean to put my foot in my mouth like that.
No, but I really appreciate you guys letting me come on here. It was very, very interesting topics, and like I'm excited to see what else you guys do.
Yeah, you'll be back.
Okay. She's like, am I though?
Okay, so
Oh,
do you know the
man.
whole speech we're supposed to do now?
Man, you know what? Like us on social media and stuff, and press buttons and stuff. But we'll have Nicole come in and say all those things.
Yeah.
Like and
because
subscribe, people, because
subscribe,
we don't know what we're doing.
Click the bell for the notifications.
Yeah, and you know what? I hope this is as fun for you as it is for us.
It's a lot of fun for us. And the only social media we have right now is Instagram. So follow us on Instagram. We don't know what our Instagram name is yet.
We'll see. You'll see it. It'll be in
It's
this
in the
description.
descriptions below.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.